Hi, my name is Bob Spurzum from EMC, and thank you for joining me. Today I'd like to talk about archiving with EMC SourceOne. And to do this, I'm going to use what we call here at EMC the archiving wheel for SourceOne. And let me take you through the 4 important steps of archiving. The first step shown here is the very important step of data collection. And here are some of the sources where SourceOne can collect your archive data, starting with email, PSTs, or in the case of Lotus, NSF files, files themselves from Windows file shares, NAS devices, Microsoft SharePoint, another important source of content, instant messaging, social data. You can see there's quite a breadth of data that can be collected by SourceOne. And if you drill into some of these content types, as you know, for email, it's messages, it's also calendars, it's contacts, it's perhaps email from a journal mailbox, email from a public folder. With SharePoint, we have many kinds of content here, again, document lists and other contact lists and so forth. So there's a very rich list of sources that we collect with SourceOne, and that's the important step we call step 1, collection. Moving now to classify. Here at the classify stage, we begin to organize this data that we're collecting by your business. It's a logical collection. And let me use probably the most common example, and that's your finance department. As you're aware, in public companies, finance departments have compliance rules. I'm speaking to Sarbanes-Oxley for 7 years of email and data retention. Now, I shouldn't have said email because the finance department, that applies to all the data that they're managing, not just email, maybe spreadsheets, maybe Word docs, could be anything from these sources. So we need to break out from just a source classification to a business classification, and I'm using the example of the finance department. Now you're thinking, well, this is hard to do. How do I organize my data around my business needs? And in fact, I'll share with you it's quite easy because it's already been done probably in your organization using your Windows Active Directory or LDAP. Here you've probably already organized persons in your company by department, by function, not just by data type, but by their business. Okay, so we've collected, we've classified the data. Now we have some processing to do. This is our step 3. So to get data prepared for eventual archive storage, there's a few important steps we have to do. First of all, the data has metadata around the files, the email, all of this content has metadata. We want to look through that, pull off and store that separately. We keep that in a SQL database. The content itself, your email messages, your Word docs, these have to be indexed so we can search these later. So indexing is a second important process. And there's a third one, and that's deduplication. We can look at each of these pieces of content, an email, a Word doc, an Excel spreadsheet, and look at it and identify and say, we've seen you before. So we do not need to store that same piece of content twice. And we call that single instance storage. So those are 3 important steps we take care of here under step 3. Now you see where we're going. We're going to step 4, and this is the physical archive storage. Here we need to find really basic information. Think about physical storage. We need to know the storage type, the storage location. Importantly, we want to know for that storage type and location, what is the retention period? Is it 3 years, 5 years? Is it unlimited? How long do we want to store that data? Because here we're building archive containers, a size which we configure. And once the data is then put into these archive containers, we then physically write the data to our storage device. I've listed 2 very popular storage devices for SourceOne. Let's talk about each one just for a second. EMC Centera is a well-known compliance storage device. It has built-in rules and safeguards to keep your data very secure long-term, meeting strict compliance rules such as the SEC 17A4, if you're familiar with that for financial services. Another example is EMC data domain. Now this box you've always thought of for your backup, but in fact it also has standard NAS protocols, so you can consolidate your backup and archive data together for maximum deduplication efficiency. So that's something to think about. But we also support all standard storage, NAS and SAN, for this last and final step. In conclusion, I've covered today archiving for SourceOne, and we've covered the 4 important steps, beginning with collection, classify, process, and archive. You know, you can find out a lot more information about EMC SourceOne, and I urge you to visit our website at www.emc.com. Thank you.